in the early days, I would get really cranky.
Yeah.
If I wasn't on time, it
Yeah.
would physically, I would feel it.
Yeah.
Sarah loves being on time, but the actual pulling off being on time doesn't always happen.
That's a very good language.
Way to
What
say
a
it.
diplomat.
The actual making of.
Oh my goodness. You are indeed a pastor.
Very good.
Wow.
That's a very pastoral
Wow.
language. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Yeah.
Very welcome. I think I learnt that from you, Pastor Mike. So all credit to you on that one. So I think it's a learning curve. I mean,
Yeah.
there's things that they can get on your nerves a little bit, but it's a great opportunity to learn where you have weaknesses in yourself
Yeah,
or
good.
things that you can realize it's not really that big of a deal
Yeah.
in the grand scheme, and the actual person is so much more important than you wanting to get everything right or you wanting to be
love
there
that.
on the
Yeah.
right
So
amount of
good.
time.
Which is true, because like if you're running on time, that is important, and
Yes.
he is right.
Yeah.
But I've seen that growth in Travis of, you know, those early married days of just the frustration.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Which
About
Travis,
being late.
yeah, like
Yeah.
so frustrated. And I know that it still bothers him.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Mike and Christelle podcast, where family meets faith and fun. Today, we have an amazing podcast for you guys. We have Sarah and Travis. Welcome, guys. We get to hang out with them and talk about marriage.
And before we go any further, please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Also, remember to click the notification bell so you don't miss when we post new episodes.
Yeah.
Great.
That's great. And also, we love you. Tell us, how long have you been married for, and how did you start the whole story?
Oh, well, thank
We
you
have
so
time.
much for...
Let's go.
Thank you for having us here.
Yes.
We're very excited, and we love your podcast and what you do.
Thank you.
So how long have we been married? We've been married just over 7 years now.
Seven, a good number.
Yeah. What were your other questions?
How did you meet?
How did we meet? It's a funny story, actually. So Sarah and I actually met for the first time when we were both around about 16,
Yeah.
and it was a post office opening in a small town.
Yeah.
The funny part is we both don't really remember too much. So
That's why Sarah couldn't finish. 7 years
too
now.
far back.
How did you meet? Oh, yeah.
that's right. So we were both very shy country kids. And then we met again a couple of years later when we were about 18 in a little local church in Bendemeer, and really got to know each other well from that point on.
Yeah, we didn't recognize each other. So
After from the 16 to the 18.
yeah,
Yes.
after that 2-year gap, it was probably another year before we made the connection. Hey, you were that kid that I met that time. So
I know you somewhere.
yeah, because I guess we just both grown and changed. And,
Yeah.
And what attracted you in her, and what attracted
Vice versa.
him? Vice versa.
Other than the obvious,
Yeah.
I mean,
Absolutely. Yeah, that's true. I'm with you on that one.
well, I think, look, before really coming back to church and meeting Sarah for the first time, the second time, I'd been around a lot of people. I'd come down to Tamworth. I was working as a diesel mechanic at the time, around a lot of people who you would say didn't have godly values. And then I met Sarah, and there was just something about her that I couldn't place. And I think I was always waiting to see when I'd see the other side of her.
Yeah.
And then there wasn't another side of her. That was just who she was naturally.
Yes.
There was no dark secret in the closet.
Yeah,
She
wow.
just was who she was. And she was so confident in that. And that's what really was the defining characteristic of what attracted to me.
She was
to her
genuine.
from the very much so. Very much
What
so.
were you waiting for? You say you were waiting for something to change. Like what?
I
What
guess
was genuine?
you meet someone and they're almost too good to be true.
Yes.
yes.
I was waiting to see what, there's got to be a catch. There's got to be some kind of catch here.
Yeah.
But there just wasn't.
And he's still in the experiment 7 years later.
I'm waiting for the cameras. And that's right.
Nothing. Sarah, how about you?
I think for me, we were the only two youth in the church,
Yeah.
aside from my brother Ben. And Benny was like my best friend. He moved away for Bible college at the time, and Travis was there. So I think we became such good friends, and he filled that male friendship that I no longer had in my life. But what I loved about Travis, which I feel like everybody would encounter with him, is he's very naturally encouraging. And he is kind by nature. And this could sound a bit disconcerting from an attractive point of view, because I would go like, oh, does he like me? But no, he's really genuine and kind and encouraging with everybody. So funnily enough, that was probably what I found most attractive, but not necessarily on a romantic level. It was just that I loved being around that kind of positivity.
Well, when you say, except from Ben is your brother?
Yes.
Ben and Travis were the only boys in the church.
And out of girls as well. Like the three of us were under
That was
50.
Oh!
Yeah.
Wow, that was an interesting church, a blessed church. Only 3 youth.
That's right.
Oh, I mean, we were the only 2 people who could legally probably get married in the church. So I guess it had to be, ordained by God, I guess.
Definitely, that was
like,
great.
Yes, this divine matchmaking.
That's right.
I will give you no other choice.
You were designed to be attracted to each other.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's so great. I love that. I love this story.
I just want to pick on something there. Did you have other options? Were there other girls out there that you could go with, or other boys, Sarah?
Oh, for me, I'd say no, but dating also wasn't on my radar. I was not looking for it. Romance, marriage, that was going to be down the track after study, once I'd moved out of home. So I wasn't looking for it. And even when Travis came, love blindsided me, and that he was just my best friend. We just became friends. So
you were not thinking about those things at all. Very holy girl.
Well, if you want to put it that way, but I don't think that was the case. No, I think it's just I had my plan, and God had another plan.
Okay. How about you? Did you have other girls out there?
No, there was nothing at all. I think really I was trying to simplify my life. So I'd moved from Tamworth, I'd moved back to Bendemeer. I was really hoping just to get some clarity about what the future looked like. And it was at this point that our parents opened the church at Bendemeer. And church really wasn't on my radar either. It wasn't like, I've got a priority to get to this church or that church. But it was very much, I guess you could say, thrust upon. So my parents were just really encouraging me that you were running these services in Bendemeer, you should come along.
Give us a hand.
Give us a hand, help out. And so, nothing really on the radar. And then, met Sarah, and we just became, as she said, great friends.
Good friends.
I really think it's a God thing. I really think this was.
It was a God.
It's not a coincidence. I think it was a God thing.
It's a God
thing. It doesn't. It's too, like you said, too good to be. Sometimes it's too good to be not God.
I remember thinking that as a teenager, because I lived on a farm. I did distance education. I didn't have a big friend circle around me, and I think, how am I ever going to meet a guy?
God knew.
I'll bring one. You only need one. As long as it is the right one. So
Yes. You just needed one. So now, you got married, one of you started. I suspect Travis said, I love you, what do you think? And you said, yes, I do. And then you got married. We're making the story short.
This is a great
that's what
story.
happened.
it's close enough.
Yes.
The words I love you were in there.
So he's right. Okay.
So what does your spouse do that gets on your nerves?
I'll go first. I actually don't have anything. She's perfectly hot. No.
Of course she's perfect.
So I guess for me, one of my biggest things I take a lot of pride in is punctuality. Like being on time every time. And
we did great today.
Sarah has brought.
Yes, you came on time.
Sarah has brought.
I know it's because of you.
Sarah's brought the greatest balance in that way for me, because I think in the early days I would get really cranky if I wasn't on time. It would physically, I would feel it. Sarah loves being on time, but the actual pulling off being on time doesn't always happen.
That's a very good language.
Way to
What
say
a
it.
diplomat.
The actual making of.
Oh my goodness. You are indeed a pastor.
That's very good.
Wow.
That's a very pastoral
Wow.
language. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Yeah.
Very welcome. I think I learned that from you, Pastor Mike. So all credit to you on that one. So I think it's a learning curve. I mean,
Yeah.
there's things that they can get on your nerves a little bit, but it's a great opportunity to learn where you have weaknesses in yourself
Yeah,
or
good.
things that you can realize it's not really that big of a deal
Yeah.
in the grand scheme, and the actual person is so much more important than you wanting to get everything right or you wanting to be
love
there
that.
the
Yeah.
right
So
amount of
good.
time.
Which is true, because like if you're running on time, that is important, and
Yes.
he is right.
Yeah.
But I've seen that growth in Travis of, you know, those early married days of just the frustration.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Which
About
Travis,
being late.
yeah, like
Yeah.
so frustrated. And I know that it still bothers him. Need to work on this. But in saying that, he extends so much grace.
So good.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I think there's no point me being upset, Sarah being upset because I'm upset and I've said something that I shouldn't have said, and then we're late anyway.
Yes.
Oh, so good. So good.
You know.
You're a very wise man.
Yeah.
How did you learn to navigate that? How did you get to a point where you said to yourself, I'm going to learn to live with this? And how did you transition from a frustrated husband to an understanding husband?
I think you have to be open to the Holy Spirit doing something inside
Yes.
you, first of all.
Yeah.
You've got to be open and you've got to want the best for your marriage.
It's good.
And I think over time, if we turn up somewhere late, I'd much prefer to turn up late and have a big laugh with Sarah about something
Yes.
than turn up and we're both cranky.
Yes.
And so I think it is coming back to that. Put more priority on Sarah
Yeah.
than on what I want to fit perfectly into my schedule, what I want, so that everybody has a good time, even if we are a few minutes late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so
Yes.
good. What about you, Sarah? What
I'm
does
just
he
listening like, I'd know. Wow. Keep the keeper.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I'm trying to pick one. Not that there are many, because he is amazing. But I would say Trav is very driven,
Yeah.
and he has a higher capacity than I do in the load he can handle,
Yeah.
and stress as well. So where I start to get overwhelmed, for example, if there's a challenge before me, I can feel overwhelmed in the weight of that, and Travis thrives on it.
Yeah.
It energizes him.
Yeah.
So if that's separate and he's at work and he can, you know, thrive on those challenges, that's great. That doesn't affect me.
Yeah.
But when it comes into the family home,
Yeah.
that now affects me.
Yeah.
And so where he may be getting energized and actually excited about, we've got this to do, I'm getting overwhelmed and it makes me shut down.
Yeah.
And so then that can be very frustrating, where if I'm shutting down and internalizing, I may not be communicating clearly with him,
Yes.
and actually letting him see that his behavior is making me feel more overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So I feel like this can breed frustration, which then creates a communication breakdown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Wow.
we're responding to
Absolutely.
the situation differently.
Yeah.
So
How did you even know
Wow.
who you are before even you see the difference? Because sometimes we can be struggling and you don't even know what is causing
What's
the
the
struggle.
what's the matter?
What is,
Yeah.
How did you know that you have
Well,
different
that's so good, Sarah.
capacities? What energizes you
Yeah.
is different. How did you come to that knowledge that no, we are different here? This guy is being energized by doing this and this and this and this. I'm not.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think you just hit the nail on the head in asking those questions.
Yes.
I ask questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
good.
I'm naturally quite analytical.
Yeah.
So I will sit and zoom out and, you know, if it was a mechanic tinkering with a car, they're
Yeah.
going to go through and pull that engine apart until they find the problem. And that is what's happening in my brain. I'm sitting going, what just happened here? There is a reason we've had a communication breakdown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Feelings, although valid and deserve time to process, they are information.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
telling us that something's happened in our thoughts
Yes.
that have created stress.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm wanting to dig back and find the root of where did that come from.
Yeah.
So I think asking those questions helped me understand Travis better,
Yeah.
and that's a strength of his, and his strength is different to mine. So that then becomes a place I want to grow in, but also recognizing God hasn't called me to be Travis.
Yeah.
He's
Good.
called me to be with Travis.
Yes,
Oh.
good.
And together
Oh.
we empower one another.
Give me a kiss. Hallelujah.
People are, you
Yeah.
guys. Oh.
Keep
Yeah.
talking. Keep talking. I can't have enough of that. Yeah.
No, this is like amazing.
I don't want to speak for fear of ruining the magic.
So good. Like, this is really good. I believe so many couples go through that not knowing.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, wow.
like you say, for example, sitting down and asking, what is happening here?
Yeah.
You know?
So for me, I had to come to a place of recognizing that God hasn't called me to be Travis. He's called me to be with Travis.
Yes.
And so from
So
that place, oh my goodness, the freedom.
Yeah.
When I can actually look at the way he's handling a situation and go,
Yes.
if I try to do that the same way as him, it's going to breed stress.
Yeah.
And it will actually also breed comparison.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
comparison's just a stone's throw away from competition. And that's not healthy when God's called us to be on the same team.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good.
So as soon as I can actually start to own my giftings and my strengths, which will be different to his,
Yeah.
and view it from that lens instead of these are my weaknesses and why am I not keeping up with Travis and I'm not energized and able to handle the load he is, but go, praise God I didn't marry another Sarah. Look at what we're getting done because I married a Travis. Look at what he is getting
Yeah,
done.
yeah.
And that really does free me and
Yeah.
empower me
Yeah.
to step into my strengths, which are not his,
Yeah.
which can actually free and empower him
Yes.
to step into his. Yeah.
That's really clear. Were you affected by that difference?
I think, as Sarah said, very much if we can run our own lanes, but we're running them together,
Yeah.
is where it made all the difference to us. And I think that a big part of it came when we had Eleanor, and
That's your baby.
Yes.
that's our
baby.
daughter.
So she's
Sorry,
nearly
when we had
two.
our daughter Eleanor.
Nearly two.
Nearly
Yeah.
two.
She's
And
the
we-
cutest.
That's true. Yeah, we'd been through a season of service pastoring in church. We'd been very busy in work lives, social lives. Everything was busy, and we'd realised we got to the point where we were both so busy together, but not actually doing life together as much.
Yeah.
And so we were always saying, our marriage is our priority, our families are our priority, but really, in our actions, it wasn't the priority. When you looked at our time, how things were being managed, it wasn't our priority. And what that drove is we learned to communicate. We had to sit down and say, right, how are we going to manage this? Who's going to take this? Who's going to take that?
Yeah.
How are we going to prioritize our marriage together?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it was hard for me in the start of that because it's easier to fix things than to talk about things.
Yes.
But when you see the result of that process,
and several years down the track,
Yeah.
absolutely.
were things that were maybe big tension points in the past, they're not a thought. We're not actually having to sit down and have that massive conversation because the foundations have now been laid.
Yeah.
And we've been able to find a working rhythm
Yeah.
with each other. So
Yeah.
keeping that communication alive, but those initial conversations which may feel big and uncomfortable and just hard,
Yeah.
it doesn't stay that way. Like
Yeah.
you start to find a rhythm.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did you learn to? Because you said you were busy together.
Yes.
But you were not working together. You were not living together. Something like
we're
that.
not aligned.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're not aligned. So how did you align your lives there when you found out that we are busy together? Yes, we are doing things together, but we are not together. Like something is missing. How did you come up with
Can I speak to
a
that?
solution?
Yes, absolutely.
I would say that purely God, He interrupted
Yeah.
our plan, because the thing is, I actually think that our heart was right, but if you are 1 degree off in 10 years, 1 degree does a big major direction change where you can do a lot of damage. So I think we were 1 degree off. I think we
Yes.
needed a recalibration. We needed a service. We needed to come back to our why and what was most important. And so for us, what that looked like was having Eleanor. We came into this season of rest, really. And we removed all those things which, although were important,
Yeah.
every good thing is not necessarily a God thing
Yeah.
for you in that season.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
And it meant that the distractions got removed. So we started to actually go, what's important? So all the external was stripped, where we came down to fundamentally family,
Yes.
God, our commitment to our church family,
Yes.
and how did the health of those three things look?
Yes.
Even how did our own physical health and mental health look?
So good.
But we weren't really able to address that until all of the noise and the busyness
Yes.
got removed.
Yeah.
And actually recognizing that things that you thought that it'll be the end of the world if I don't show up for that,
Yeah.
or things will fall apart if it's not on my shoulders.
Yeah.
Things go on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's a hard lesson. It's a humbling lesson.
Yes,
It's
it
the
is.
most wonderful, freeing lesson
Yeah.
that you will ever have
Yeah.
when you let Jesus carry his own
He's-
purpose.
He's building his church.
He does
We
it.
are not.
Yeah. So, oh my goodness, it's the best kind of rest. So then you're not just in a season of rest, but rest becomes a tool
Yes.
that you can operate from.
Wow.
I think it's a big communication thing.
Yeah.
It's you've got to have a check-in constantly. How are we going? Yeah. How am I feeling?
Yeah.
How is Sarah feeling?
Yeah.
And how are we really feeling?
Yeah.
Not just feeling good and away we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How are you really feeling? And then looking at how we can practically do something about it and how we can emotionally do something about it, how
Yeah.
we can be there. And something that we really have tried to apply over the past, I'd say 18 months or 2 years having Eleanor is if I put all my focus into Sarah and Sarah puts all of her focus into me in a part of our marriage, if I focus how I can fill her needs and she focuses how she can fill my needs, then we are so strong.
Yeah.
So we've taken the focus off ourselves, off, this went wrong or that went wrong. And it's just, we are moving together, moving forward together. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. And I think again it's not getting that comparison thing that you're looking to one another,
Yeah.
but knowing what God's called you to, and
Yeah.
whether that's God's calling is not just a job.
Yeah.
Like calling it crosses all spheres of life.
Yeah.
It's love God, love people, is everything underpinned by that.
Yeah.
And if it's not underpinned by that, well then there's your 1 degree that needs realigned.
Yes.
But I just agree with Travis on the communication thing. That was a big light bulb for me that, let's say you sit down at the beginning of a school term
Yeah.
and we make our 3-month plan, and it could be a good plan and it's
Yeah.
a healthy plan, and we're going to have this many date nights and we're going to have this many meetings, and Saturdays are family days, etc. Don't think that because you had a healthy plan
Yeah.
that in 2 months you're in a healthy place.
Yeah.
You have to stop and check and
Excellent.
recheck
So
and recheck.
Very good.
And that's the biggest thing that's been this light bulb for me, that you don't arrive at healthy. You keep investing into becoming healthy.
Beautiful.
Wow. Wow. Now, what is the most humbling part of being married? What is the thing you don't enjoy much about being married in another language?
Yeah, for sure. I think for me, it came really strongly when Sarah was pregnant with our daughter Eleanor, and you get married and you become the one flesh. You're one unit, and you
Yeah.
become so close with each other.
Yeah.
And then Sarah had a few health issues along that journey,
Yeah.
and you realize that there is nothing you can do.
Yeah.
I can't fix that.
Yeah.
I would love, as a man, I'd just love to, whatever is going on, I'll take it,
Yeah.
and you're fine. But you can't. You have to leave that with God.
Yeah.
And because you're so
You're out of
close,
control.
so close together, you have to trust God so much, and that's humbling.
Yeah.
It's humbling because there's a lot that you don't have control over.
Yeah.
You have to release that control.
Yeah.
All you can do is draw together as a couple.
Yeah.
Draw together and be 100% the biggest supporter, the biggest cheerleader for your partner. But it's humbling to know that there's a lot that you cannot do.
Yeah.
When it comes to having kids, or even when it comes to a lot of the things that Sarah just naturally has gifts for,
Yeah.
or is God-given gifts for, I can't do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's humbling, but it's
Yeah.
also amazing because it means that, I can't do it, but I've got this amazing God-given gift that can do that
Yeah.
Yeah.
and do it well.
Yeah.
Were you ever thinking that you would be able to do everything and better than Sarah? Or were you ever thinking like that?
Absolutely. Of course.
And he mostly can.
No. But I think
I purposely ask that question because sometimes we do think like that. Sometimes you think like you should overperform your wife or your husband, or you should prove that you are better at this. And I'm not talking about you, Travis. I'm talking about all of us.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you find yourself in an unnecessary competition that you don't know even who created it. You don't even know the result of it. What are you going to get out of it? It's okay not to be able to do everything your husband can do.
Yeah.
It's okay not to be able to do everything that your wife can.
Yeah.
Yes.
And just admit that your strength, I'm not good at that. Just
So freeing.
do
It's
it.
very
Yes.
freeing. It's
Yeah.
the best.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
okay. Sarah, what do you find most humbling about being married?
Honestly, I think it's two sides of the same thing. And for me, it's placing value on making our home a sanctuary.
Yes.
So for me, that's just always far down the priority list because my mind will justify that by I can put the washing aside, I can put the dinner aside for people.
Yeah.
If I see a need, I would rather go and show up for people. But as just and righteous and holy as that may seem in my head, the truth is that if Travis feels loved and it places value and importance on him as my husband to be able to walk into the home and feel like I can rest now, I can relax, and the weight of the day falls off, and we're not having dinner at 8:00 because dinner's ready, then really it's still about people. So in my head, I'm thinking, I've just put the washing and dinner aside to show up for a person, but it's actually coming at the cost of placing value on my husband. And I've actually been called to that first. So although I get that in my head, that is one of the hardest things for me to execute. Because it's not how I'm naturally wired. And so the more that I've started to really identify, I know my love languages are different to Travis's love language. I think sometimes we default to trying to love our husband or wife through our love language. And he may appreciate that, but it's never going to really
Fill him up.
it's not going to fill him up. And I just think there's more power in when you can love them in the way that they most readily receive it. So that is humbling for me. It's a hard thing because, and again, just outside of being a wife, then it's the stigma and the label of other people's expectations, and you can so easily see other people do it so well, and then feel inadequacy. So I think for me, in coming that Travis thrives on challenge, that can breed overwhelm, and then when I can see other people do something in an area of weakness for me so well, then that can breed inadequacy. So if you pair being overwhelmed with inadequacy, it can leave you feeling so small.
Bad.
It's a really bad blend, and
bad
so
blend,
it's that perspective shift again. To look at my strengths, but then also I think the more I'm able to change my thinking to going, this places value on my husband. So if my mind or my heart is for people, that just made it about a person. It made it about one of the people I love very most in the world.
That's so good, Sarah.
So then suddenly
wise,
doing the washing and making the dinner has a whole lot more value. So I'm still executing that.
Still working on processing.
Definitely. It is humbling for me.
What do you enjoy most about being married?
it's just so much fun, isn't it? I mean,
What do
you could
Travis?
not.
What do you mean?
You could not.
Good question.
What do you mean?
You know, Sarah's right. I love a challenge, and marriage is a challenge.
Yeah, wow.
It is a challenge, and to do it well, it's not, as you said, it's humbling. To do it well is humbling, and there's a whole lot to learn. And you're taking this one other person on earth that you think that you really know, but over the course of a whole lifetime, you realize how much that at the start you didn't really know. You don't really know them, but if you're on each other's side
together as well.
absolutely, if you're on each other's side, you really grow together and you learn together. And the person that I'm a completely different person to when I first met Sarah, and thank God for that.
Yeah, good.
And
He was all right.
Have you seen the change? Have you seen the transformation?
Completely. But we
Yeah.
are both such different people.
Yeah, good.
But again, in just saying that, the way we met and the way we came together, that was God design. I believe that, us getting married as young kids and being married for nearly the entirety of our 20s
Yeah.
has meant we've grown up together.
Yes.
We've developed family culture together.
Yeah.
I think maybe things that could have been a struggle coming together at 30 will never be a struggle because we're already so one-minded.
So good.
How old were you when you got married?
20
Both
years
of
old.
you 20?
I had just turned 21, so I'm a little bit older.
You'll have to cut that out of the podcast.
What was your perspective about marriage?
So before you got
Yeah.
married,
Before you got
what was the
married.
idea about marriage?
And-
Have you thought about marriage?
And what is it now,
Yes, that
if it's changed?
it has changed definitely.
Tell us.
And in both more realistic but also good ways. So I would say for me, pre-marriage, like I knew that was a covenantal God design. I knew that was always the only option for me when it was going to come to romantic relationship. I believe that God had that in my future. But I think pre-marriage, like I had never lived out of home. I had never even worked a full-time job before I got married.
Yeah.
I had never managed my own finances before I got married.
Yeah.
So when I got married, that also signified the start of adult life for me. So before that, I'd never really experienced the fullness of that responsibility and independence.
Yeah.
So looking forward to marriage, I was like, I'm going to get to live with my best friend. We can cook and eat whatever we want. We can go wherever we want. We don't need to run that past anybody. If we want to jump in the car and go to the beach on the weekend, we can do that every weekend. Like it just looked like freedom
Yeah.
and getting to do it with my best friend.
Yeah.
And he was your best friend.
Yeah. Oh, completely. Still is.
Yes.
And that was true. Like I've heard a lot of people say that the first year of marriage is the hardest, and I've never related. Our first year of
haven't.
marriage was just awesome
Yeah.
because we still didn't have a lot of responsibility at that point.
Yes.
So I feel like the first year gave me a glimpse of what I thought, marriage is. It's just this freedom, with the person you love most in the world. And over time, I would say that the freedom comes at the cost of the responsibility.
Yes.
You do have
Yes.
commitment and there is responsibility. So yeah, you want to jump in the car and go to the beach this weekend. Do you have finances to do that?
Yeah.
What about your cousin's birthday party?
Yes.
What about all the washing? And
Yes.
there's no groceries in the
And
fridge.
his cousin's birthday party.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. And
No.
it's like I've met them once, and we know this is going to be awkward. But we love you now. 7 years of birthdays.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think on not a negative, but a much more realistic and
Yes.
balanced
Yeah.
perspective
Yeah.
was that there is absolutely a weight, and there's also a cost to self.
Yeah.
That you do have to lay down some of your desires and what
Yes.
your idea of fun is. My idea of fun might be shopping. Travis's idea of shopping, like fun, is not 3 hours of dress shopping. So that had to compromise.
Yes.
Yeah.
And my idea of fun is not going camping and shooting. So,
We're together on that one. So, why would you do that? Yeah.
So that's been a change too, that there is more compromise, but there's more fullness
Yes.
Yeah.
for that responsibility
Yes.
and compromise.
Yeah.
The less self-focused you are, then
The more enjoyable it's become.
absolutely.
Yeah.
That is so good,
Travis,
Sarah. What about
did
you,
you
Travis?
have any ideas about marriage? Conceived ideas?
I'd have to say I feel very fortunate in that my parents both still very happily married.
Yeah.
And their married life, their whole married life from when they first met each other, they'd worked together on properties. So it was full time, 7 days a week,
Always together.
working together, living together. If you go to town, you go to town together.
Aw.
It's always together.
Yeah.
And so I think I had, in that way, a healthy view of marriage. And the same as Sarah, I think that the twist on that was that it would be that with all the fun and no responsibilities. So, which she said was very true. The first year was. But as we want to do more for people.
Yeah.
We want to grow,
Yeah.
and we
You
want
wanna live
people
in
to
a
grow
fishbowl.
around us.
Yeah.
We want to take God to the whole world.
Yeah.
We want to do what we've been called to do.
Yeah.
We want to support our families. We want to grow our families. We want to maintain and grow
Yeah.
relationships. We want to learn new skills. We
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
get better at things, and that takes time.
Yeah.
And every single thing that you do in your marriage that takes time takes that time away from somewhere else.
Yes.
Yes.
And so I guess the preconceived idea I had of marriage was that it would be together all the time, hanging out and having lots of fun,
Yeah.
and not much responsibilities. And
Living
Yep.
the dream.
that's true. And I'd lived out of home before as well.
Yeah.
But I don't think that I realised the amount of finance that it would take to actually live with another person. And when you're
I knew nothing about money.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
no savings, no good money management there
Yeah.
at all. Like,
And when you're a young bachelor,
Yeah.
like you can survive on the bare minimum.
Yes.
And then you get married, and you've got to have 15 packets of toilet paper, and you've got to have
and the pretty pot plants.
the pot plants,
Yeah.
and you've got to, which I'm so grateful for, I must say.
That's a
because
really diplomatic tag, right? Nice save. Just tag that onto anything this could be a conversation in the car later.
Absolutely great conversation though. But it takes a lot of money. It
Yeah.
takes a lot of time. Everything we do takes resource, and we have to allocate it well.
Yeah.
And that would be my preconceived
So
ideas.
good.
You mentioned something there. You mentioned that your parents were working together.
Yes.
And then they got married and they continued to work together, and you saw them growing together, like stay together. You also said that you found yourself and you and your wife working together. You were service pastors together at church, and you were leading at some points. You were leading the music team together. The two of you. You always worked together.
Yes.
But you found yourself working together without being together, without your spirits being together. You were too active together. You were busy. And I think that happens to many couples.
Yes.
You are busy together in the house, doing things together, but you are not, I can say emotionally together. You are not
Yeah.
Not
aligned.
aligned. Not
Yeah,
aligned.
aligned.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
great
So
word.
together. And you did something. You stopped and think about it.
Yes.
Not everybody does that.
Yeah.
Not everybody does that.
Yeah.
Can you expand a little bit on that? Because I know there may be other people who have found themselves in that, doing things
And
together.
are still in
And
that
they're still
situation.
stuck in
Yeah.
there. They don't know what to do.
Yeah.
They can see themselves together. They can see themselves doing things
But they're
together.
not connected. It's like
But
there's
they
no
don't
connection.
feel the connection. How did you realize that you are not connected even though you are doing things together?
Yeah.
Great question.
Yeah, when we were in that season of in title and on paper, we're doing things together, but it's like the cogs weren't clicking.
Yes.
And I think one of the differences was, as we established, when we came together, we were best friends.
Yes.
And we came into marriage with this idea of fun. And
Yes.
those first years, they were that. They were quite responsibility free. That became a good point of comparison to go, what's been lost?
Yeah.
And I think even with your relationship with God, you go back to the first love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like what has
Yes.
started to
Good
weigh
setup.
down and drain
What
your
happened?
passion and your
Yeah.
fuel and your fire. And I remember specifically, we had a summer during that busy season, and the thought occurred to me, we're both making effort for one another, but it's all effort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This wasn't natural. There was no wind behind the sails. There wasn't just we're naturally laughing.
Yeah.
We were having to try to intentionally stop talking about
Yeah.
work, stop talking about what's happening tomorrow.
Yeah.
And we were having to work really hard to be each other's friend.
Yes, good.
And so that became this red flag where I
Yeah,
started to go,
why
this is actually costing the friendship.
Yeah.
And that was enough for us both to address that and go, something needs to change. We had an overseas trip during this busy period, and we recognized it then, But it wasn't until we actually had Eleanor and stopped those responsibilities that it really got addressed.
Yeah, that is so good. You know, when we had I think I was pregnant with me, Chris.
Yeah.
Someone told us every baby comes with a blessing. You know, but we know it's cliche. Of course, it's our baby. She's a blessing. It's a blessing. But you do not know what. Like you say, when Eleanor came, it's what like everything went into perspective. You're like, what does really matter? Are we still friends? You know?
Yeah.
And so that's a blessing, and she's the cutest. So that's good.
She's
She's beautiful.
So cute.
Yeah. Could I speak to the people that may not have that option
Yes.
of
Yeah.
stepping back from all their
Yeah.
responsibilities?
Go for it.
Yeah.
When we had Eleanor, I really felt God had given me a word that he was going to give me joy and margin. And we had Eleanor and we came into this season of margin. We had space. We had this little baby that would make us laugh, and she was such a joy. And I thought, this is it. This is my joy and margin. He's given me this season of joy and margin. And as time's gone on, I started to have this little fear creep in of, God, when does my season end?
Yeah.
When do I lose my joy and margin? And then I just felt God spoke straight to that and said, I didn't give you a season of joy and margin. Joy and margin are your weapons.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
wow.
whatever your level of busyness, those two can't be compromised.
Yeah.
Because the joy of the Lord's your strength.
Yeah.
And then margin, create space for your relationships.
Yeah. Wow.
Space to have fun, space to breathe, even space to think
Yeah.
and process your
Yeah.
thoughts and your feelings.
Yeah.
And
So you intentionally created a margin in your schedule.
yes.
A time
Yeah.
just to be.
Yeah.
You are not busy
So-
doing stuff. Just
Yeah. And that's something
Imagine.
I feel we have done together.
Yeah,
Amen.
that's very important.
Amen.
Yeah,
Amen.
very important.
Amen. Another question for you. What does your spouse do that makes you smile? That you just look at it, you're like, I just love this.
Yeah, for sure. I've got so many.
Of course, you're smiling already. That makes us
Just
know.
saying
know,
that makes
yeah.
him smile.
Just to think of her makes me smile.
You know what? I think Sarah's got so many strengths. And when you see your partner and your friend who is just living those strengths out, you know, I see her sometimes and she's just praying with someone in church.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or, you know, she's up on worship team, she'd be playing keys
Yeah.
or just seeing her live out strengths.
Yes.
I get the biggest, goofiest smile on my face.
Oh, that's
Wow.
good.
It's just magic. And the other thing would be seeing how she is with Eleanor.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Just
Like a man.
how they absolutely, yeah, how they just make each other laugh. And it just
Do you feel
fills our
jealous?
home with sorry?
Do you feel jealous?
Oh, absolutely. I won't tell her that though.
Nobody makes a laugh like Trav.
I've never seen someone who like Travis. You know him well. Indeed. You're getting his jokes really well. Like absolutely.
He just goes there.
Yeah. So look, those are a couple of the very, very many.
Yeah, good.
Wow.
What about
She's
you,
amazing.
Sarah?
I feel like Travis is like painting me up there as, I don't know, almost
No,
totally
that's
righteous.
how he
but
sees you. That's how he sees you.
it's very kind. Well, I feel like mine's way more shallow. Like if I just think of one of the ways that Travis makes me smile so much is he will crack really corny jokes, but he actually doesn't have a corny sense of humor.
Yes.
I do. And he cracks these corny, terrible dad jokes with that goofy smile on his face because he knows I'm gonna laugh. And it makes me laugh hysterically where I lose my breath and I get stitches in my tummy because he's laughing at me laughing. And it's not even about the joke. It's just that he's like, oh, hey Siri, this is gonna make you laugh. And inevitably it does, and then I laugh more because I hate that he was right.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's really good.
The purpose of this conversation for us is to make couples understand or help them understand that it's okay to have issues. It's
Yeah.
okay to be in a place where you don't understand everything about your spouse, but still marriage is enjoyable.
Yeah.
Despite all the challenges, despite
worth it.
you can still enjoy marriage. God designed it to be enjoyed. Maybe some people are in that space where they are looking at their marriage and think, oh, can we still enjoy this?
Yeah.
What do you have anything you would say to those brothers and sisters out there who would love to hear something from you. Any word, any final thoughts?
I would say that when your marriage is healthy and when your marriage is strong and you're aligned in the same direction, that is the greatest feeling I can imagine. When you're moving forward together and you're growing and you're building and you're healthy, there's no better thing than that, but it takes work.
Yes.
It
That's
takes
good.
work.
Yeah.
And, a lot of my personality is I want the final result and
Yes.
I want a clear path to get there and I just want to start.
Yeah.
But there's got to be a whole lot of, it's not just about me, it's about how we're doing it together.
Yeah.
Otherwise I'll be out there on my own and
Yeah.
that's not the place to be.
No.
It's getting aligned. And I think something that really helped us with that is from the second or third year we were married, maybe we got involved with church and we got straight on teams.
Yeah.
We started running the worship team, and that season for us was just incredible because we learned in that we were both managing people, we were managing responsibilities, but it wasn't like I was off managing my work and Sarah was off managing her work.
Yeah.
We had to learn to manage something together.
Yeah.
And that really taught us our strengths, it
Yeah.
taught us our weaknesses, how we think, how we communicate.
So good.
And that might not be the best thing for everybody, but for our personalities, it worked really well because all of those skills that we learnt and all of those struggles that we had through that just became a platform for us to grow and to become stronger and to become better together because we learnt how to work together. And in a healthy marriage, I believe that you should be able to work together.
Yes.
You've got to be able to work together.
Yes.
Otherwise, you're two individuals trying to accomplish something
Wow.
together.
Yeah, that's great.
Any thoughts, Sarah?
I definitely agree with Trav. I think, first of all, like, we've been able to give the highlight reel this afternoon. Like, as we've been talking, we're speaking about the things that we have processed, the journeys we have been on,
Yes.
and the areas that we feel strong and healthy in.
Yeah.
But then we have other areas that are the low light reel
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
maybe we haven't talked about all of
Yeah,
those.
correct.
And I think the biggest thing is stop buying into the myth of a healthy marriage means a perfect marriage.
Yes.
And let that ideal go. Let this idea that you'll never get frustrated with one another, that you're never going to argue with one
So good,
another,
Sarah.
that you're going to read each other's minds. It's not a movie where you stare into each other's eyes and somehow this telepathy goes on and you've just like downloaded 6 years
Are
of
you
conversation.
Sure? I want that.
Yeah.
Just Hollywood.
Do you want to give it a try? and
Bluetooth
then tell us
4.0.
what each other said. Okay. But I do think, that's one of the things. It's easy to portray your highlight reel to people.
Yes, it
And then
is.
people say that's the healthy,
Yeah,
perfect
that's
marriage.
good, Sarah.
And why aren't we there yet?
Yeah.
Well, let's start by going, nobody's there yet.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to have those frustrations. And I think even just going with that movie analogy, if you really start to observe the core underneath all of these romances, is that people find their everything in the other
Yeah.
person.
Yes.
That you are my world. I found my purpose. I'm now complete. And it's such toxic
Yeah.
thinking.
Yeah.
It really
It's
is.
very, very toxic.
It really is, because as soon as I go, Travis is supposed to be meeting all my needs. He should be reading my mind right now. I should be feeling so happy and full of love all the time because of him.
Yes.
Then I've created this alternate reality.
Yes.
And that entire reality is just filled with disappointment and frustration.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, and I really think just the core to that is Jesus has to be your everything.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
good.
You have to
I
come
love
back
that.
to
Yeah.
Jesus
Love
being
that.
your everything.
Yeah.
Your husband or your wife is not your purpose.
Yeah.
But when you come into this beautiful thing that is marriage together,
Yes.
Jesus will have a purpose for you
Yes.
together.
Yes.
Wonderful.
But one another is not each other's purpose.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So yeah, I just check your perspective, check your expectations of one another,
Yeah.
and also do a reality check, because if you're
Yes.
wanting to be the movie,
Yeah.
then you're going to feel ashamed of what your marriage is. Like,
And if you had the movie, you wouldn't want it anyway.
I had this moment, like, you know, Pride and Prejudice, like, I love those sorts of movies. And it's like, oh my gosh, that would be so dramatic. Like, we're in the rain, we're about to kiss, we're running away. And I was like, what has he done? There's a love letter under the door.
There's a reason movies are like 2 hours long, not like
Not your
60
life.
years, 70 years.
It would be exhausting.
You know, Travis, I love that. It's just a 2 hours movie.
Yeah.
It's not a 60 years movie. It's not a 50 years movie. So you can't really get into the details.
that is amazing.
I love that.
I really,
Wow.
so
wow.
good.
Thank you. We are
going to play a game now.
Yes.
Who's the better cook?
Why do you think it's him?
We need to know.
Why do I think it's him? Travis couldn't cook to save his soul when we got married. But we've established he thrives on challenge.
Yeah.
So he would just observe me in the kitchen.
Oh, wow.
And he learned to cook. But then he discovered that there's all these recipes online. And they're a wealth of knowledge more than my brain.
Yeah.
So his cooking is really good.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
He can cook any night.
That's
Yeah.
great.
So you
What
think-
about
you
you,
think
Sarah?
it's
So Travis said it was Sarah. Why do you say she's a better cook?
Oh, I just think that she is. I mean, when I eat my food, I'm like, oh, that was all right. But when I eat Sarah's food, that was great.
It's just more amazing when you don't have to cook it yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Who's most likely to get lost? That's clear. No question asked. Who's the better dancer?
Does it mean he doesn't even try?
Oh, no, he tries.
That's how you came to know.
We'll give you an example after this.
Yeah.
We'll record that.
For the,
Not on
the
camera.
after cut.
Okay. Who's the better driver?
Why that?
I'm always running late.
So you're always rushing. Okay.
Okay. Who said I love you first?
I was
Lovely.
right.
You were
That's
right.
a great story.
Yeah.
She didn't
Okay.
say
Do that for when we come back.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Who's grumpy in the morning? No questions asked. Okay. Who's always right?
What do you mean? What do you mean? Tell us. Why do you think
He literally
does he
thinks
claim
he's
it?
always right.
Does he
We
claim
have a
it?
great
Look,
story
it's my
of getting
ego.
to your house. So we were driving here and I said, you don't even know where we're going. And Travis goes, yes, we do. Is it Penley?
Peregrine.
No, the first time. This is where the argument comes. He goes, what is the name of your street?
Penley.
Penley.
Penley. Okay, so he goes, it's Penley. And I go, okay. And then we get here and he turns onto Peregrine. And he's driving around and he cannot find your house. And I said, that's because you said Penley. He's like, no, I didn't. I did say Penley. No, I said Peregrine. Oh my gosh, there's too many P's. But he was so adamant. He was so adamant it was Peregrine. And to the point that your number does not exist on that street. So but you know, we pulled up here eventually on this other street and
By the grace of God.
by the grace of God.
And we were early because we left in good time.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
And that's because, Travis was right about how long it would take to get here.
That's good. Okay. So last question. Who's more romantic?
Thought we were busting out in song there for a minute.
Guys, why do you think it's him? Why do you
Oh,
think
we need
it's
to know
her?
why.
Can you explain?
I think it's because it's in different ways.
Yeah. Wow.
And I
okay.
think it's we both try and be romantic in the ways that suits each other's love languages, but it doesn't always come off. And I think it's a lot of times we play to our love languages as individuals.
Yeah.
It's a very hard question because we both try to be romantic and we want to be romantic, but it's hard to say, isn't it?
Yeah, wow.
I think even though our love languages are different, we have a commonality of thoughtfulness.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we are both quite intentional to think like, oh, she mentioned that, I'll get that for her birthday.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Or, oh, I noticed that he's drinking this particular thing more, so I'll make sure I stock the
Oh,
fridge
good.
that way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think it's just that we both have a high level of thoughtfulness,
Yes.
but it then is outworked differently.
Yeah, that's
And
beautiful.
I think we see being romantic as a whole spectrum.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's true.
You know, it's
yeah,
not just-
it's a spectrum.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
But it's good that you feel like she's romantic.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
really
It's good that you feel he's romantic.
really-
because that means you are being fed.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
means
Your
your
emotional-
love tank is being
Yes.
filled up. So
that's really
great.
good. We love that.
Yeah.
That is a good test. You've just passed.
That is so
great.
good.
That's very good.
Well,
Good.
thank you so much, Sarah and Travis. We had a lot of fun.
So did
and I
we.
know so many people are going to have so much fun. You
Yes.
guys, just thank you for sharing,
So much
being
gold.
vulnerable and sharing your life
Yeah.
with other people. And I just, God bless you. I'm
Thank
so
you.
I'm so
Oh,
grateful
thank
for you guys.
Oh,
Yeah.
Thank you for this ministry. Thank you for this little window that we've got to be a part of it. And
Yeah.
Amen.
we've loved it.
We would love to have you back again.
Oh, yes.
Oh, thank
You've
you.
got
Wisdom.
so much wisdom. I think people would love to hear from
Yeah.
you. Maybe after some time, just send us a text. We want to be back
Yeah, sounds good.
We'll come dance.
Sounds good.
with the dance.
With the
Travis dancing.
It's true though. We really are. We are so grateful to you guys.
Amen.
Your ministry across
Amen.
many areas. So
Thank you so much. Okay, conclusion.
Thank you guys for listening or watching. And remember, when family is healthy,
The nation is healthy.
Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Facebook, Mike and Christelle Podcasts. See you next time.
Bye.